Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video. I hope you're all doing well today. Today I have for you a video that has been requested for quite some time actually, since I started the channel. I've seen some other channels touch on this subject very briefly, but this video kind of encompasses everything that you'll need to know and puts all the 250s in the game against each other in a test to see which is the best overall, and it also will give me a bit more insight towards the strengths and weaknesses of each bike also. And maybe at the end of it you'll come to more of a conclusion on what bike you want to main, so to speak, what bike you want to get good at. So before we hop into the shootout, I did just want to mention real quick that I do now have a Discord server. It's the first Discord I've ever made myself and tried setting up bots and permissions for, so hopefully it's all good. It's essentially just a place for all of you fans of the channel to hang out, talk to each other drama free. The link for that will be in the description of this video. Now onto the shootout. So for this shootout, I wanted to treat the bikes as fairly as possible against each other. What I decided upon was I'd pick a track that I was very familiar with and have spent hundreds of laps on and can run those laps consistently over and over again. The track that I chose was Atlanta 1 out of the 2021 Supercross tracks in the Aerial series. I then ran stock everything on each bike, so stock suspension, mapping and all sorts. The only one option that I changed was the fuel. I put the fuel down to 1 litre for each bike, and I ran this 1 litre of fuel until the fuel ran out, and this tended to be about 8 laps or so, give or take a lap on each bike. At the end of those 8 laps I would see what bike had the quickest lap, the best average of the fastest 3 laps, so let's say one bike ran 48-second lap time exactly 3 times, its average would be 48 seconds, simple as that. And then I also wanted to see which bike had the best ideal lap time on to really see which bike could go the fastest if I tried hard enough. And I'll be going through all of the numbers and stuff as we go, and then at the end I will give you kind of the final results and my opinions overall. So the order that you're seeing these in is the order that I recorded in. So I just started off with the Yamaha. I'm a bit biased towards the Yams as I am a bit of a fanboy myself, like I only 2 Yams in real life. Had them for multiple years. I've never experimented too much in game with the Yam, funnily enough. You can see on screen now my best lap was a 47.6, you know, it's pretty respectable on this track. My ideal was a 47.24, which was fairly low when you compare the other bikes later on. What I'll say about this bike is there's nothing that's like amazingly good on it, nothing that's amazingly bad. It does the job. It's a very good middle of the road bike. I didn't find myself down for power loads, at the same time I didn't find myself spinning out in every corner. So overall, good bike. Nothing else to say about the Yam really, quite just middle ground. I moved on then to the KTM. The KTM, I'll say, I'm not a big fan of the cockpit of the KTM, just the whole handlebar setup. I just find it really off-putting. I really struggled to put multiple consistent laps together on this bike. Although that being said, I did have a faster lap on this than I did on the Yam at a 47.399, and my ideal lap on this was a 47.029, which is actually one of the lowest out of all 8 bikes that I'm going to be testing. So it seemed to be a little bit of a hit or miss on this bike. I either ran a really good lap that I was really happy with, or I just couldn't get it going. I feel like you had to be pretty spot on this bike. Same as the Yam, it wasn't spinning out in every corner. It felt, there was times when it did feel a little bit sluggish as far as acceleration goes. Nimbleness, absolutely fine, it turns no problem at all. The next bike we done was the Alta. I have nothing good to say about this bike, I absolutely hate it. I even went as far as doing more laps on this bike than any of the others just to try and get in a good lap time and get used to it. But it's just so sluggish. I actually changed the bike on this so it was overclocked. I think it's performance mode on the 250, it's overclocked on the 450. But I still couldn't get it going. Once you're up to speed, it's okay. It's the acceleration that is just abysmal, and on the Supercross track especially, it really does let you down. Like you see that triple there, I'm really struggling to get over. The quad into the next corner I really struggled to do consistently as well, but just would not recommend this one. It was the worst of the bunch, which is to be expected. 48.2 was the fastest lap, which is like a second off of most of the bikes. So yeah, would not recommend the Alta out of all the ones that I've tested today. The next one is the Honda. A lot of people seem to ride the Honda. Oddly enough, I'd never really tried it in Supercross much. I used to ride it in Nationals a lot, but it really surprised me in this. This was, I believe it was the most consistent bike overall actually. I'll have to double check at the end, but I just put so many 47 second lap times down in a row on this bike. It felt so smooth. It was never lacking power at all. The only thing that I say about the CRs, which some people might like, some people might not like, is the cockpit again. It feels like you're like quite in the bike. It feels like you're quite low down on the bike as opposed to others where you feel a bit higher up. But I suppose that's all personal preference at the end of the day. Oddly enough, this is one of the heavier bikes. It's like third heaviest, I think, out of them all. But it didn't feel it at all. It turns fine. It's got loads of acceleration, so I do recommend the CR quite a lot. Moving on to the Husky next. I'd only ridden Husky once or twice before this, 250 at least. So I used to ride the 350 quite a lot. But one thing I found on the 250 was just how nimble it is. Like, it feels so light into the corners, which actually ended up throwing me off in some bits. You can see here, so as I exit the turn, it was almost like my car was turning too much. I hooked out of the turn a bit more than I would on other bikes. So it's sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I feel a bit like the KTM on this one as well, with how the handlebars are. It's essentially a KTM in a white dress anyway, isn't it, if we're going off of real life, let's be honest. Fastest lap on the FC wasn't out of this world, but it wasn't awful at all. Again, I'd kind of mark it around the Yam area where it's just kind of middle of the road, just a solid bike overall. The next one is the one that I thought would win this for miles. The KX, the one, it's the 250 that I've got the most time on overall. But I actually struggled to get going a little bit when I'd done these laps. It took me a couple laps to get the fast lap that you can see in the background now. I think the KX is the most used 250. It's all I see in actual like proper organised races and public lobbies. You can see from the fastest lap time, it's the second fastest one out of the ones I've tested so far, only second to the Honda. I feel like the KX and the Honda are so similar as far as how it feels when you're riding. The only difference is the cockpit. You can kind of see a bit more on the KX. Like the front end looks a little bit longer enough. You feel like you're on top of the bike rather than sat in the bike. So I feel like those two are very close to being spot on. It just depends what sort of kind of field of view you like. The next one is what I thought would be the worst behind the well, just before the Alta, sorry, was the RM. Look at the stats. I couldn't be more surprised. I feel like it might almost be a bit of a one-off, and I just had a good session when I was recording this one. Obviously, I've been playing this track for about an hour at this point, recording all of these different bikes. I've done it all in one go, and this was the second to last one I'd done. But it has, well, I'm not going to spoil it just yet, it's got one of the fastest lap times by a considerable amount, and you can see the ideal lap time there. 46.6 is way below all the others that we've done so far, about a half a second or so, which is pretty nuts. I think maybe this track wasn't the most ideal for it because you don't need loads and loads of acceleration. Once the bike is up to speed, the RM is actually really good. And I think actually its lack of power helps in the corners because you don't slide out at all, you just keep it going. And then finally, out of all of these 8 bikes, I had the TM, the one I've switched to recently. Little did I know, the TM is actually the heaviest out of all the bikes. Which may have been putting me at a disadvantage there without me realising. But then again, oddly enough, I had the fastest lap on the TM. And I don't know if that's just a comfortability thing because I've been riding it recently or what, but the last 2 bikes, granted I was most warmed up, are the 2 heaviest bikes, 107 for the RM, 107.5 for the TM. Yeah, I had the best lap time. So I feel like there might be something in this where you need that little bit of, maybe that little bit of weight to keep you planted. So you don't spin out at all and you stay a bit more controlled around the track. But yeah, that will do it for all 8 of those bikes, so let's get into the numbers. Alright, so the first category that I'm going to put down there is for fastest laps. So in 3rd place for fastest laps at a 47.127 is the Honda. I felt very comfortable on the Honda, nothing bad to say about it, it felt like a really nice consistent bike. 2nd place with a 47.054, I think is the biggest shocker, is the RM. Really surprised me there, didn't expect those sorts of times at all. And then the fastest bike that I rode in this testing was the TM. I feel like that result might be skewed a little bit slightly where I've been using the TM quite a lot recently, so it might just be I was more comfortable on it than the others. But again, for being the heaviest bike out of all 8 of them, I thought that was very impressive. The next category I was basing on was best average lap, and this was taking the best 3 lap times on each bike, finding the average and seeing what was what. So third place on this was the KX at a 47.352 average lap. Second place was the Honda at a 47.350, and then first place was the RM at 47.270. And that RM really surprised me there. That sort of lap time is top 5 in qualifying for pro races easily. So to have that as an average lap is pretty nuts, so I might have to consider using the RM a little bit more. And then the final category that I was looking at was just the best ideal lap. So if everything went perfect throughout the whole lap, what bike would have given me the best lap time overall? Tied third place with exactly the same ideal with a 47.029 was the Honda and the KTM. Second place was the TM, which had a 46.925, and then finally with the best ideal lap time was a 46.692. Now, that being said, and putting everything together, you would think that the RM was the best here, as it got second in the fastest lap, first in the best average laps, and then first in the ideal lap. However, I'm going to take that result with a little bit of pinch of salt. It might have just been I was having a good 8 laps at the time I recorded this bike. As I say, it was like the 7th bike that I used in this video, so I might have been warmed up more than I was on the previous bikes. And I think we all know as well that the RM itself is a bit of a tank, so I can't see everybody just suddenly switching over to the RM. I just can't imagine it. I can't see it happening. So as far as this test goes, I think at least that the Honda is the best all-round bike I tested in this. I will definitely be using the Honda more. Might use it in some of the actual races, the Supercross races, because it just felt like it did everything I needed to do. I was never searching for power. I never felt super sketchy on it, and it just felt like it did what I wanted it to do. Nothing more, nothing less. So yeah, the Honda gets my seal of approval for this video. Don't go anywhere near the Alta, you don't want it. Everything else in between, personal preference, fair game. I don't think there was any bikes on there other than the Alta that you should not go near at all. They were all very capable in their own ways. And I would say get out, test them a little bit more, head in some public lobbies, see how you do. And yeah, that'll do it for my analysis. I hope you've enjoyed this video. It did take me a fair amount of time to work on and put together. If you have any questions on the bikes at all, put them in the comments. And as I said at the start of the video, I've got the Discord server going now, and the link for that is in the description. So if you do want to go and chill out and meet other fans of the channel, so head over there. And then finally, like all videos, leave a like if you did enjoy it. Subscribe if you haven't done so already as well. The growth recently has just been absolutely nuts. You know, we're just past 5k, moving onwards and upwards to even better things. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. Have a lovely day wherever you are in the world, and until I catch you guys next time, peace.
Got bad shit all up in my mind right now. Fuck it, give me a minute and I'ma let it all out. I don't give a shit about an opinion, be another dimension when I wake up. Bitch, it's time to fill the cup. Got no fucking love, I feel so stuck on my luck. Get fucked.